He goes with a front two once again, which seems to have gone out of fashion of late, Brendan. Getting two strikers in, is that a conundrum you often had?
Well, certainly in my first couple of seasons, and when we signed Daniel Sturridge and we had Louis there, they were two top-class players, and it was the case of trying to get them into the team because the goals and what they can create for the team was going to give us a great opportunity to win games. So that was something that in my first season, in the second half, and Jamie was there at the time, where I was thinking about how to fit them in for the following season as a combination.
I think these stats of the 13-14 show where Liverpool almost won the league. I think you were right to do so, do you think?
I think so.
But you see, the effect he had on Liverpool's season, how impressive they were. And we're going to look at, Brendan, different ways how you get two front men. I think it is a problem sometimes for managers. They say they like strikers on the books, but sometimes trying to get two into a team is difficult, as you mentioned. Now, this was the first time they come together in that season after Luis Suarez's ban, and this is a 3-5-2 system. This was a way of getting them in the team. You see the back three there. There's the two wing backs, two central midfield players. I think it was Victor Moses off the front, and the two front men will come into shot shortly. But this was the first time you got them together that season.
Yeah, well,
and there they are as a front two now. So what was you thinking in playing a back three? Because that was something you tried the year before with me as well at Fulham.
Yeah, I think at that time, Jamie, I was talking about, I had my mind on the following season. The second part of the first season we were working well, but I knew for us to push on in the second season, I needed to find a way of which I could get these two fluently into the team, because they're such a threat. And obviously Lou, as you see, is a world-class talent, and Daniel, when he's available, has that world-class ability. But he'd just come back from obviously a ban, Louis, and this was as I said, the beginning of that sort of relationship.
So it's a way, basically, you get them two up the top of the pitch, and what comes behind that was your first idea, three at the back, but you come away from that, maybe as the season went on, to more of a back four?
Yeah, back four. For me, the system was irrelevant. It was more about the style, and then more about trying to get the creative players into the team. So the system was irrelevant. It was just about getting those in and letting the team function from it.
Well, when I'm talking about playing a back four, how it went that second half of the season, it became more sort of 4-3-3. And what I've always wanted to ask is, how did you decide which of Sturridge or Suarez played wide, which side, and did the opposition also come into that as well? This is the Everton game.
Yeah, so in this game, for example, this was the home game that we were preparing for. And what I felt going into this game, like you say, they want to play together. But sometimes I felt that at times flipping to that sort of 4-3-3 would help us. And the example in this game here was that I felt that young John Stones, who's an outstanding player, when he was coming into the team at Everton, he was playing as a right back. And he was very good going forward. So for me, and like Roberto's teams do, they do very, very well. They want to open up and play the game. For me, rather than have the two central, I would keep my three in midfield. And I was asking Daniel in this game to try and then exploit the space that John Stones would leave. Yeah. And what we were saying was that when John Stones went forward, you stay and never be on the other side of him. Never be in the goal side. So he goes to a certain
position like there now and then
absolutely. So he sees position now. He's taken it off of Jordan Henderson. So now when we win the ball back in that sort of counter press and transition, he's in. He's already got the run. You're not catching. Once Daniel's away, he's away, and especially with a head start here. So we win the ball back, great pressure in the middle of the field, and then he's away.
So why wouldn't you use, say, Luis Suarez then? Maybe for the extra pace on that side?
Just for the extra pace, and just to really, really make him think. Because my feeling was on that side, you'd obviously Baines. I'd put a sort of worker on that side to try and control him. And obviously put Daniel on this side, where I felt he could have the joy against a little bit of inexperience.
You see that one now. Now, the flip side of that again is Luis Suarez. Now he is on the right side in this game. Now, also we'll get to why you did have in that game. But how difficult was it for you building up to a game? Because strikers don't like playing wide. Yeah. How did you speak to them? How did you decide? How did they take the decision that they were the wide players? I'm sure they both wanted to play centrally.
Yeah, absolutely, and they were great. But you've got to try and convince them that this is the best possibility for the team. It was never going to be something that was longer term because both of them are central players. In this game, it was the opposite to that.
What was the reasoning for that then, that you went Sturridge through the middle?
Well, I thought with Daniel here, up against Mertesacker, who's an outstanding defender, but I thought Daniel's pace could hurt them. And instead of having Louis on this side, so sort of stop it here, he was on the right. Yeah. Monreal was good going forward, and I gave the same information to Louis. When they attack down that side, I want you to be more this side of the defender. So there's a gamble for us here. So you've got to let him go. But when we win the ball, I felt that, as I said, that transition for us would have been good.
If you see Louis there, he lets him go to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Do you think he's working? Is that how far you wanted him coming back?
No, I didn't even want him to go that far, but he's such a conscientious player, Louis, that he still feels that when the guy runs, he wants to go with him. But you see some wingers, where they're asked to play, they're back in level. Yeah. So when they win the ball, there's no advantage, really. So for us, Jordan was brilliant. You see him here with Ocho, putting the pressure on.
Well, I think you're right, Jordan Henderson's vital. You need someone to do that work. And that position of Suarez, some people may call it cheating. It's actually a tactical play, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a half and half position. And the point I would look at here, Jamie, if you stop it here, since Louis left, the goals have gone right out of the team, and not only that, with Daniel being injured, people look at, and obviously Jurgen is the issue now and the problem now as well, people talking about the number of goals, strikers. Yeah. That season when we finished runners-up, if you look at that front five of Suarez, Sturridge, Sterling, Henderson and Coutinho.
And the five behind.
And the five behind then defending. Okay, so you had five on the attack, you had the five behind, plus the goalkeeper. You're going to score goals. And as I said, they were absolutely outstanding.
Well, that was the outstanding sort of performance, I think, in that season. But this, again, highlights what you're talking about and why you played Daniel through the middle.
Yeah, perfect example. Great pressure. Team set up really well. Young Phil pressing the ball. And then that's what he can do. He can make the pass. Daniel's on his bike. And then we go in and he gets the goal and we're 4-0 up.
The other way, we look at it now, the way you found to get the two strikers on the pitch. We've looked at three at the back, we've looked at one from the side. This was something you played towards the end of the season a lot, the diamond system. And we see it there, we see the back four, but you've got the midfield there and the front two. What would be the reasoning to play the diamond and specifically against, say, Man City in this game? What was the thinking?
Well, the thinking in these games here, and particularly the big games, we travelled away to Southampton and then Manchester United, obviously Manchester City here. The big teams normally want to play. They want to open up the pitch, especially away from home when they want to get forward, and Man City were a big team. So for me, the opportunity to exploit with the two front players, the spaces that they had, with Raheem in behind that, with his speed, and also to give us the four in the middle of the field with that superiority. Man City, will be playing three in there, but that would allow us to dominate the centre of the field, but give us that real threat at the top end. So
what you're saying, so against the big teams, most fullbacks like to push forward. So do you think a diamond system against top teams can sort of at times leave you 2v2? Sort of you're two fantastic strikers against two centre-backs.
Well, that was what I was selling to the players, because I was happy for us to defend. So if you think with the goalkeeper in here, you've got 9 players defending. Yeah. And I'm happy, if a team wants to push on the fullback, I'm happy for Daniel Sturridge and Luis Suarez to play 2v2 in half a pitch. Yeah. Because of their speed, their movement and their quality.
What was the thinking in terms of Raheem playing that position? What would he give you in there?
He gives you the penetration. He was remarkable in that role. He can find the space. He's hard to pin down. And that game there, it was just trying to get in the back of the midfield. Daniel's a mover, Lou is a mover.
Penetrate through the middle.
He penetrates through the middle.
Well, we've gone through all the different sort of systems of trying to get a front two. The only one we haven't gone to is 4-4-2. Is that something that I can never sort of remember you playing in your teams at Liverpool, or something you talked about playing? Is that something you'd ever think about?
Yeah, I would consider it. Like I said, it was more the style as opposed to the system, Jamie. But I've always, in my development as a youth coach and a coach, I've predominantly went with more lines on the field. Not to say that this system's any bad or worse than the other. I've just always liked to have had, with 4-4-2, unless the wide players are flexible, they can come on the inside, they give you the numbers. But I've always tried to create a difficulty for the opponent in terms of how to press.
So you think it's maybe easier to stop, maybe you've got a passing team, you're talking about passing angles and maybe finding people in different positions. Is that what you're talking about when you're talking about different lines rather than being in straight lines?
Absolutely, yeah. And listen, don't get me wrong, the top teams can play that for sure. You know, we played Real Madrid in the Champions League, and when they had the ball, they were 4-3-3, and when they defend it, they were 4-4-2. So within the game, they were changing their system and structure. But it's just that my preference, I've always tried to open up as many lines on the field in order, firstly, to press the game and to have the ball and penetrate.
I suppose in terms of giving the opposition a problem, it does, but it probably gives you your own team more passing options when they're in sort of different positions, strange positions.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the most difficult way to defend. You know, the short pass is difficult to get there. So as a defender, if the ball's moving quickly over that 10-15 metre area, as a defensive player or a team defending, it's much more difficult rather than, say, one ball or a straight line ball. I've always just found it.
You know, in terms of going from, sorry, Brendan, in terms of going from the diamonds, is there something you've ever done? It was something that you mentioned about the Norwich game, in terms of playing a diamond. There was more of a twist on it, if you like.
Yeah, we had. It was something that I'd seen in a youth game when I was taking Chelsea in one of the youth tournaments in Europe. And this is the benefit when you're a youth coach, you know, if you progress through to becoming a manager, you'll find out lots of things as a...
Well, what was it? What was it? So was it a diamond that you spoke about? So
yeah.
Did the diamond come from sort of your youth? That's something that you saw?
Yeah, very much so. I was very much 4-3-3 in a diamond because it just flips very easily. If you want to change the system, if you actually look at it, whatever way it goes, it's very quickly, there's not a great change in the structure. Or you just drop, one in and pull them in. But what I experienced in the youth tournament, which I found fascinating, was that we played a team, South American team, that were 4-3-3 and we were 4-3-3. And it was a real old experienced coach who was taking it. He'd obviously been a manager, come down, and he was now taking the youth team. And we were dominating the game. And the likes of young Jack Cork and that would have been playing in it, you know, in the game. He changed to a diamond, and they had the advantage centrally in the game. So they had now 4 versus 3. So I needed to change it, and I matched up the diamond. And then we had, you know, probably the better of the game. And then he'd done something in the second half of the game that I found fascinating. I'd never ever seen it before, where to get the numbers, so it was a diamond versus a diamond, what he did was he took out one of his players here and just put him in the centre of the diamond. And this guy became a more central sort of runner in the game. He had the guy in behind. But now he created his overload 5 versus 4. And I'd made a real mental note of that. I thought it was a great move. And so we were on our run. And leading into the game, we'd been playing a diamond. We were obviously playing Norwich away. And Neil Adams had just gone in and was going to be the manager. We had a feeling that he was going to set up as a diamond. So we'd actually prepared the team to start off in the first 20 minutes to half hour to play young Phil Coutinho in this space. So we had Louis through the middle, we had Raheem, we had Joe Allen and Jordan, Stevie at the bottom, and then young Phil in there. And for that opening period, we were excellent. You know, we were 2-0 up at half-time in the game. We eventually won the game 3-2, but this was something that was different, and I enjoy that side of coaching and trying to find different ways.
To pick you up on something you said earlier, you said when you went 3 at the back. Talk us through how that evolved and came about.
Well, that was simple, Ed. That was purely, we had been building a team for 2 years to be really aggressive in defending and in attack. And we got to the end of the second season when we finished runners-up, and we'd scored 101 goals. Changes in the summer, of course, but we still wanted to keep that identity of working and playing. And at the beginning of the season, we had no real possession. We had no running or movement in behind. We couldn't really create a chance. And we were a million miles away in terms of our our game what we were for 2 years.
Well, is this it sort of working at its best? I mean, the problems you caused sort of teams, and where did this idea sort of come from? Where did it originate?
Yeah, first came whenever we were playing in the Champions League game against Basel. They had to make a change in the game. They were 4-2-3-1, made a change in the game, and the right back that they put on was actually a winger.
Yeah.
He was running up so far that it was pushing the winger inside. And the winger was coming right in on top of the 10, and the guy in the number 10 position was then slid across. So it actually gave them a box.
In terms of, we spoke before about getting 2 strikers, how you find a way. Was that a way of finding a way to get 2 number 10s who like to play in that central area? Talking about that midfield box, we spoke about it a lot when you were playing it. But the problems those positions cause for teams for 3 or 4 months in the season, was that a big part of that system?
Yeah, it was about looking to get the players on the field that, one, that could press the game, and 2, could create and score a goal. So getting the technical players onto the field, because what we were doing beforehand, we'd won some games, but it wasn't really what and how we want to play and how we want it to work. So by setting up this sort of system here, allowed us to have width on the pitch. You've always got the numerical advantage, so you get 3 from behind, you get 4 in the middle, the 2 guys stretching it on the sides, and what I'd done was I went with attacking players here.
Yeah, in the wide areas.
Yeah. And then it meant you had players central and arriving in the box.
Well, as I said, that system caused teams so many problems, and you had a fantastic run where I think it was 13 or 14 games. From it, I just wanted to, you've told us why you started it. Maybe you had to find a way of getting those players in the team. Is this a problem with 3-4-3? And this is the Manchester United game, and I want to highlight 2 players. When a team play, I think that being Di Maria on the day, and that was Mata. Is that a problem for you when you're playing that system when teams play 2 wingers?
Yeah, that's one of the ways in which it can negate how you work. I think what we had been is we had always these 2 guys here on the side, so Alberto here, the player on the other side, pushed right on, pressing the fullback. Yeah. And then everyone else was squeezed in behind that. But for some reason in this game, when we started, our distances were too far away. And you see it here, that when near enough come into, it ends up being like a back 4 here, but that was never how we'd been working up until that point. So I think whether it was nerves, whether it was we just couldn't get our distances right.
But is that there where you look at Moreno, is that where you get that grey area you're talking about? You want your wing back to press the game. Is that where you have that problem, where it causes your players don't quite know what they're doing?
Well, that there asked the question of the defender. Normally what happened in the teams we played here, this guy would be here in front of him. So then he's in a half-and-half position to jump. But now by him being right on the shoulder, right on the limit of the defender, he's now asking the question of Alberto, are you going to go there? Because the distance you can't, it's too big. Or are you going to wait there? And probably in this little example here.
So there he takes that step forward. Is that where you then open him? That is the problem with the 3 at the back.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, as I said, it was, whenever it works, it can work really, really well. But if you're out on your pressing and your organisation to press the game, you can suffer.
Well, in terms of...
Against a good possession team, Jamie.
Well, you had the Manchester United game, you had the Arsenal game, they did the same, they had Sanchez and Ramsey in those wide areas. Do you think it got to the stage where you felt you'd sort of surprised other teams with the system? Had they now found a way to deal with your system? Is that why you had to come away from it, or was it the system, was the players in the system?
I think it was just one purely where we'd been on a great run with it. Teams were obviously finding it difficult maybe to play against it. But the Man United game, we lost, and then we were coming straight into this game here, and we lost this one quite convincingly, really, and didn't play so well. And I felt it was something to get us back on track again. Probably needed just to go back to stability again, go back to the back four, and then look to work it from there.
We'll do lots more of this later, gentlemen. We need to head to the Liberty Stadium, here from a man you know well, of course. They've got a new head coach, but this man in charge tonight, Alan Curtis.